PNation, y'all ready?
Yes.
We going live. Whoever's not here, they will have to listen to the beginning of the replay, but I see them coming in. Hi, fam! How y'all doing?
Good.
Who is that say good? Sharon? Hey, Raquel. Hey, y'all doing? Darwin, y'all do know you have to be live tonight, right? I see some people calling in.
Thank you.
Hey, Rachel, I crack you up.
Thank you for this day.
Cherise, Mary. Who else is on here? Darwin. Hey, Key Sweat. I gotta watch this chat.
I'm here.
Oh, Stephanie. Hey, I didn't even see you at the top, but I saw you at the top.
Thank you for this day.
Who is Owner Dale? Tanisha. Get yourself on this screen.
Thank you for this.
All right, it's 6 o'clock. Let's get it. We thankful for this day.
Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. This beautiful.
It is a beautiful day.
This beautiful. This beautiful.
Khonsu in the house. Kiana in the house. Olivia in the house. If you are on a phone, I don't know who you are because I am unable to see you. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Hey, Vicky. Hey, Mary. Y'all some beautiful, beautiful, beautiful people. Vicky, I said you right. Felicia, Nika, Sharon. Look at Sharon.
Hi.
She like, hi. How we doing, fam?
Good.
Good. All right. Well, y'all don't seem too hyped up as I am, so take some of my energy. This is the one time I'm allowed you to take some of my energy and get hyped. Cause this, where your notebook? Let me see. Let me see. Hey. See, I make mine clap. They twerk. All right, everybody got their notebooks. Yay, let's get it. Let me tell you, I'm not going to talk long because guess what? Y'all know I can talk. Khonsu, Amun, is my brother. He is a powerful source in the industry. Let me tell you who else on here that I didn't see. Hey, Francine, LaDonna, Tarika. I need to see y'all faces unless you're at work or you are driving. I don't need to see you and you don't need to see us because I don't need you being distracted, okay? But other than that, we need to see your face because this is very interactive. I need to see you up in this place. I need to know that you are present. You are ready to receive. Let me see, who is that walking? Oh, that's Felicia Jones. You are ready to receive and you are grateful in this moment for what is about to be presented to you. Kiana, you headed home?
Yes, I'm headed home.
All right. Okay, just checking. Hey,
Okay.
Ty. Doris.
Hi.
Let me see. I got a second screen here. Let me make sure I'm getting everybody.
Hey, Lovey.
Hello.
Hey, 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 hey. Christina, where your face at? Ty, where your face at? Kim, where your face at? Kim Baker. Doris, where you at?
I'm here.
Are you in your bonnet or are you in your robe?
No, I'm good. I just got a new computer that I just set up, so I have to fix the screen.
Got it. Okay. Hey, Natasha. All right, fam, let's kill it. So does everybody know who Khonsu is? Or you just hear me bragging on him because, you know, I have the honors of being his sister and I'll be all hyped up when you say the name. It's like, calm down, little girl. Has anybody ever heard of Khonsu Amun?
No.
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 No,
Okay.
I have not.
Oh,
Only when Em mentioned him.
oh, y'all are in for a treat.
How do you spell his name?
Fire. How you spell his name? Is that what she said?
Yes.
Let me put that in the in the chats here for you, okay?
Okay, thank you.
So that you can get that. But anyway, I'm gonna let him introduce himself, and I'm gonna let him introduce his business and all the greatness that he has going on within him, his gifts and his talents, because I ain't gonna be doing a whole lot of talking for once, okay? Heath empowers everything. Mute yourselves. I'm going to mute you, but if you don't mute, I'm going to ask you to mute yourselves. I think everybody is automatically muted out.
Wait, quick question.
Yes.
If I have to go to the bathroom, can I mute and turn off my video?
Oh, you know, we got the same thing, except the men, I'm pretty sure they've seen them before. No, you can, most definitely. Most definitely. You know, some are a little bigger than others. That's all. Okay, there's his name.
Because I've been holding this since 9 o'clock this morning.
No. You take care of your business. You can mute, but just make sure you come on right back, okay? Because I want to see your face. So let me unmute him. Khonsu, it is my pleasure and my honor to have you up in this place, my brother.
Oh, man, this is likewise. No, it's a pleasure as well. You are something else, boy.
So I'm going to mute myself and welcome to PNation, which he is in the group, so that everybody knows he is in the group. He is a bystander watching me and how I present myself to the general public, because we have some great things popping off for the people in the near future. So if you need to reach out to him, you can also get him in the group as well as individually. Now, don't be sending no friend requests and you're not going to do nothing with it. I'm just going to put it out there, okay? Just don't send friend requests to have people in your inbox just because, all right? Do something with it. Khonsu, it's all you.
Yeah. What's up, everybody? I'm glad that everybody was able to tune in tonight. I hope that you're blessed. I hope you have your health, your wits about you. You know, I wish you well. I wish you peace, love, and light. It's really an honor, you know, to have met Lovey and everybody here tonight. You know, this is a passion of mine, and it's finance and also teaching credit. That's part of financial awareness. And me living in North America, this is something that plagues everybody that really lives in Northern America. We do not understand how to be economic in our financial mastery, especially when it comes to credit. Sometimes credit can be very intimidating. I've been doing this now for 17 years. I started out as a legal consultant, paralegal, part of a legal counsel team with SEIU Local 1, which is a union here in Chicago. So I was part of the legal team, and then I transcended as a contract negotiator and started learning contract law. So pretty much I was in the law field, but in corporate law, and dealt with infrastructure, meaning how to negotiate a contract and things like that, and speaking in layman's terms. And at around 40 years old, because I'm 48 years young, at around 40 years old, I was terminated abruptly. They did not have the funding to continue to pay me and my staff, and I was the lead of 600 people across the country and another 300 people in Poland. So I had lead of people nationally and internationally, and we were all fired simultaneously the same day. That happening was actually the best thing that ever happened to me. But at that time, I didn't know what I was going to do. I mean, I was 40 years old. I had done this profession for 20 years, not including the 17 plus now that I've been working here and working with my company. I had to reassess myself. And one of my biggest problems was finance, because even though I had worked in finance, I had got peripheral education in finance, I didn't apply it. And when I lost my job and I had to reinvent myself, and the feeling I felt when someone fired me, and it wasn't even my fault, I just said, I'm certifiably unemployable. I was not going to be someone that you can employ. If you employ me, I'm going to let you know. You probably get 90 good days out of me. But I'm probably going to be sitting at your job, figuring out how to do your job and take over your company. So I wouldn't hire me. I'm just going to be honest. Don't hire me, man, because I don't know how to put my life in someone else's hands. I can't do that anymore. And one of the biggest things was taking control of my finance and my economic awareness, being economic with the money that I have. And hopefully tonight I can shed some light on how it doesn't take a lot of money, but it takes the application, knowledge, and awareness of the money that you have. So the first step is understanding credit and how debt protects assets, and understanding the difference between a debt and an asset. So we're going to talk about a couple of things. I'm open to questions and things of that nature. You know, I'll do my best to try to field those questions. You know, I have, you know, over 17 years of experience, and this is something that I love to do. This isn't something that I do as a means of living because it's just something I fell into. I went to school for theology and Egyptology. So I got degrees. I got a master and a PhD in Egyptology, and I couldn't find a job. When I'm going to be a museum curator, I could not find employment. So a lot of my setbacks and breakdowns led to breakthroughs, and it was very beneficial for me. And I'm very fortunate to be able to talk about that today and to give layman solutions to what appears to be complex problems. And we all have problems every day. But with finance, it's really being a fundamentalist. And once you learn the fundamental skills of financial awareness, the sky's the limit. So I really do appreciate it. I'm looking forward to getting right into this. So Lovey, you know, I'm ready, man. You gotta just let me know what's up. Let's get it.
Get it. I'm ready. If you are not muted, check the bottom of your screen. Please mute yourself. There's a couple of you that I was unable to mute. And if you have questions, please save them towards the end. Write them down so that you don't forget. And we are not here to be shy. Please ask your questions as if you were sitting with Mr. Khonsu by yourself. This is crucial, fam. So, and don't be like, I don't want to ask that. I'm a little bit embarrassed. Them days is over. That's elementary days, okay? We all adults here. Let's kill it. All you, Khonsu.
All right. Well, it's funny you talk about embarrassment. At 40 years old, by 43, yeah, because I'm 48. By 43, I was homeless twice. By 43, I was sleeping in my car. At 41, one of my best friends let me stay at his house. I was showering in restaurants between 40 and 43. So, and I'm not ashamed about it because it defined me. And I walked in my gift. So the adversity I took with balancement, and I developed courage to go through it. So there's nothing to be embarrassed about. The fact that you are still here and motivated is success in itself. And all of us, you know, I'm very good friends with a really good friend of mine, Lucretia Hayes, M. Rain. That's my road dog right there. You know, she's a really good friend of mine. And if you guys are partaking in those kind of things, then I'm talking to some heavyweights. I'm not talking to somebody that needs a pep talk. That's not what we're here to talk about. We're talking about being applicable and developing skills that we already have. So that's the most important fundamental thing tonight. One thing is we're going to talk about credit. Now, credit is within the financial world. And forgive me if I'm a bit redundant sometimes, but I try to be as layman as possible. So we're talking about credit that is within the financial field. And a lot of people they misunderstand credit. And your credit report determines your worthiness to a potential lender, okay? Your credit report determines your worthiness to a potential lender. So that means that if you are aspiring to attain an asset, then if you don't have the financial means, you will be financed in order to receive those things. So if it's a house, if it's a car, maybe you're going to school, maybe you want something on installments like furniture to fill your new house. These are the kind of things that credit makes happen. If you have great credit, you can get those things. Now, there are components to credit. It's your score, which is a FICO score, if everybody's familiar with that. It is the software in which the FICO system is built. That is called a Score 8 system. All right, and you have different types of systems. You also have the what is called a FICO 8, a FICO Score 4, a FICO Score 5, a FICO Bank card score 5 and 4, there are different types of FICO score softwares, and they're used specifically for certain things. Now, what a FICO score is the Fair Isaac Corporation company score. And it's the infrastructure of software that's used to give a tabulation to a potential lender of your ability to maintain finance, your ability to budget, your ability to pay things on time over a period of time. So a lot of people think, well, if I get a great credit score, then hey, I'm set. That doesn't mean that. Because you have a great credit score, they also want to know, how do you handle yourself legally? Do you have any liens, any repossessions? Do you have any evictions on your apartment? Are you employable? They're going to look at your work history. All of these things are accessible through your credit. They also look at how much credit you've had and how long you've paid it. Have you paid things off? And if you have, how did you pay them off? Were they charge-offs, which means that you defaulted, you didn't pay, and the lender eventually put a lien on you, which is a collection? Or did you pay it off naturally? The account was closed as paid. How often did you pay on time? Can you handle the credit that you have, which is the 30% debt to ratio? Based on how much money do you make a year, can you handle the credit that you get per capita? So let's say you make $30,000 a year, but you have $45,000 in credit. That gives you a $15,000 leeway of debt to income ratio. Are you responsible enough to support your income and supplement it with the credit and not live off of it? So what they do is algorithmically, they follow the way that you use your credit cards. If you have a $500 credit card, or whatever limit your credit card is, you divide it by 3 and you're not to spend more than that. So let's just use the whole number 500. You divide that by 3, you cannot spend more than $150 of that 500. If you spend more than that, then the algorithms say that you are living off of your credit and you're not utilizing, you're overutilizing your credit. Henceforth, you're probably sinking slowly and you can't afford to take on any other credit. So that will influence or sway a possible lender of loaning you money. The second thing is the amount of your limit. The highest limit that you have on your credit today will determine how much a bank will send you. They will or approve you for. If you have a $1,000 limit on your credit today, and it's a revolving installment or real estate, and I'll get into that in a minute, that is the highest potential amount that you will be loaned. Okay, that's the highest that they will give you. So if you go to a bank, they're going to assess your credit rating and then your credibility. And if the highest limit you have is $1,000, you've paid it for at least 2 years without ever being late. You don't have any liens or debt against you. You haven't spent more than 30% of the available credit you have, which is, like I told you, splitting all your limits into 3 per each account, which is considered a trade line. If you don't spend over that, and if you don't have a bunch of inquiries, like you're really searching for credit all the time, then you qualify for an A prime loan. If you barely squeak by, you got a couple of problems here and there, then you qualify. And this is one of the biggest misnomers with credit. Usually from a 500 on up, you can qualify for anything. But qualify doesn't mean afford. It just means you qualify. It doesn't mean you can't afford it. This is when 2 things come into play. The rule of 72 and the rule of 78. These are 2 bankers' rules that lenders use to determine how much money they're going to make off of you and if you're worthy enough to receive the item that you want. Meaning, can you pay it off? Can you get them their money? So we're going to get into the rule of 72 and rule of 78 in a moment. But I kind of want to shift into what each reporting agency is before we get too far ahead. You have TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. These are credit bureaus. They're not legal entities, even though they appear to be that. They are not. They are private corporate liaisons that actually handle the reporting of commercial relationships. You between a creditor. Or if you happen to be a creditor, you between a potential lender. Okay? So TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian they charge business owners to monitor you. And so unbeknownst to you, your public records are then parlayed through what is called the UCC, which is the Uniform Commercial Code. Every state has it. It's usually housed at the Secretary of State's office within your state. And so what happens is when you read the actual terms and conditions, you will see what is called a UCC-1 rider. That is in every single contract of commercial exchange. And that is, you give the rights to have your contract listed publicly for anyone to pull and trace, because it's a LIBOR number that goes on the filing number. And they can just trace it by the number and publicly check out what you're doing. Check out the deal that you may have between, let's say, you and a bank that's loaning you money for your house, okay? So because they're doing that, they violate your rights. They actually do, but you acquiesce because you signed a contract that is indemnifying with adhesion carve-outs. They're called carve-outs. And that's different sections of the contract that say, I will do this, I will do that, I won't do this, I won't do that. Usually it starts out with I am of sound mind and body, because then that waives your right to a jury trial should you say that you were defrauded. Okay? And I don't want to get too inundating. I want everybody to be able to take notes, and get an understanding of this. But it's all about your contracts. It's all about understanding that you're going into a debt agreement and you're given credit for the debt that you're going to create. Does everybody understand that? You're given credit, okay, for the debt you're creating. So TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian monitor your credit as you accumulate debt. And how do you accumulate the debt? And how does the debt benefit you? Because we hear, hey, I want to get out of debt. Well, you want to get out of negative debt. But positive debt, what it does, it keeps your money circulating as currency. It keeps it moving, and it keeps it active and passive so that your savings and money that you retain and allocate does not get exasperated in paying a bill or a debt. Yet your credit will actually spread out the buying power of the money that you net after taxes, okay? So if you're given a credit card, there are 3 types of credit. A particular credit card, sometimes you have a store charge card. Those are clubs. Those are different clubs where you can only buy the stuff from them. You can't charge it globally. You join their club and they have items you can buy. Those kind of cards, and your standard Visa, MasterCard, and stuff like that, those are revolving credit cards. Now, why are they called revolving? When you spend it, you spend the limit. Let's say it's $500 again. That's a good number. You got a $500 limit. Let's say you spend it down to $350. They charge you a rate per capita with a administration fee called interest that you have to pay back. So you pay the balance of $500 from the $350 with interest that they charge you in the credit agreement. That's how they make the money. It's the interest, okay? So now you pay it back. That original limit that dropped to $350 will go back to $500. Henceforth, it's called revolving. So a revolving credit card revolves the limit back to its original limit as you pay the debt back. Now, why is that good debt? Because you say, man, I have a bill. You have a bill, but it's spread across 30 days, actually 29 days. So now you have more buying power and you pay a potential limit instead of the full amount back. You pay a limit. And then as long as you pay that limit, you maintain a great rating. Now, some people want to just pay it all back. If you can do that, great. I wouldn't suggest that when you're building your credit because you want to establish a history of payment. So you purposely want to pay at a graduated rate. If I took $100 off of my $500 limit, and let's say you owe $100 and then you get the bill, you got 30 days, and they charge you $15, right, to pay the $100 back you owe. And you're like, oh man, this is great. I took $100 and they only want $15 back. No, they want $15 plus 27% interest. Now, if anybody has a calculator, let's see, $15. The average credit card is at 25%. I'll be nice. So that's an extra $3.75 for every $15. So if we do $100 divided by $15, that's 6 times, generally 7 times. So $15 times 7 means that for that $100, they doubled their ROI. They made $105. So they made 105% on the $100 that you borrowed from that limit. They made 105%. The bank did, because they used the rule of 78. The rule of 78 means that they put their interest in front of the principal. That happens on a mortgage, that happens on a credit card. They make their money compoundedly. And the reason why it's called rule of 78 is you add your months. 1 plus 2, 2 plus 3, 3 plus 4, 4 plus 5, all the way up to 12, it'll equal 78. So they put it, so if you agree to a revolving credit card, it is unlimited how much interest they can make off you. So technically, a $500 credit card, right, at 105, we multiply 105 times 500, they can potentially make $52,500 off of you with just a $500 credit card limit. $52,500. People lie, but numbers don't, okay? And if you're not educated, you'll think, oh man, I got me $500. Let me spend this up. You just went $52,000 in the negative because of rule of 78. So understanding that is, if I take $100 on a $500 account, I have a $500 revolving balance, I want to pay that $100 in increments of 3 within a 30 to 45 day period. Because what that does, that cancels out the compound interest that rule of 78 makes. So if you know you get paid, right, it's 31 days, how many days you get paid? If it's twice, or is it 4 times? You want to amortize that payment on schedule with your scheduled pay, okay? So it's a $100 balance, using my calculator, guys. That's $33 that you would pay each pay period, or if you're paying, if you get paid twice, $66, okay? If you want to eliminate your buying power loss of compound interest and maintain your credit rating, because not only are you paying your bills on time, you're paying it out, and you're keeping a low debt to rate utilization, okay? DTU. That means that you're using your credit responsibly and you have the ability to utilize it. So a $500 credit card, this is what the bank's going to do. They're going to say, whoa, you're making this money, you're paying it on time. How can we fix this problem? We need to attach more months in front of this principal loan of $500. What can we do? This is Mr. Bank thinking, guys. What can we do to make the money? I know it. I got it. Ma'am, sir, thank you for being a great customer with us. ABC Bank, we thank you so much. You are really a great customer. You pay your bills on time. We're going to give you a $5,000 limit because you pay your bills on time. Now, usually it starts from $1,500 on up to $5,000. They will literally give you that kind of money from $500. But now you see the motivation because they're trying to force you into insolvency, which means being late, not making a payment, and that 78 piles up quickly once you're late. Once you're late, it piles up against you. Now the debt to ratio goes crazy. Now you need to either refi or they'll drop your limit. But they're still going to make the money because the debt that you owed gets written off. Once you sign the contract, you agree to the increase, you're inclined to the debt. All right? So this is how credit works. This is why that's how debt can work against you. When you understand debt and you realize that you need the debt, and I'm going to get into that, this is why credit is important. But I wanted you to know why credit can and how credit makes money for banks and things of that nature. Now, before I go any farther, I'm going to open the floor for questions if somebody has a question, because I know that's a lot of information. Somebody may have a question. If not, I'll keep going.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my question is one of charge-offs. And with the charge-offs, some company comes in and they purchase the debt that you blew.
Yes.
Do you owe any money to this new company. They
Okay,
call your phone, they call your job, they call your friends.
Yes. Yes, Francine. Well, technically you do. Legally you don't. Because they have to validate the fact that you went into an original agreement with them. Now, contrary to popular belief, we're not educated to that. So what the law says is that ignorance of the fact that you don't know is no excuse for them to file a judgment.
Okay.
If you don't know, that's not their problem because the law is quote unquote public. So because the law is public, you are a responsible adult because you cannot get credit unless you are 18 years or older. Your responsibility is to find out the law, not theirs. They're not law merchants, they are merchants. So they play dumb and play on your ignorance that you won't challenge. So let me sum that up. To fix credit and fix debt is absolutely free. If somebody comes to you and says, let me repair your credit, laugh and walk the other way. If somebody comes to you and says, pay me for the labor it's going to take to fix your credit, then that's a credible thing to do. Because the laws are there, they're there for you to be able to do it yourself. All right? So, and in my course, I do teach that. It's very simple. It's layman terms. It's writing a simple letter. It's understanding your rights and your delegated powers of authority when you're talking with a third party. Because what they did is they purchased the rights to the debt. They go and buy jumbles of debt. Every year, I have a collection company, and I go to Vegas and I buy a few thousand notes of debt. Like one of my biggest investments is Comcast. And I've had a Comcast bill that was $2,500. I don't know what they was doing. I don't know what they had. I don't know how they had a $2,500 Comcast bill, but they did. So I settled for $600, but I only paid 48 cents for the note. So I made $590 something dollars and something cents on a $2,500 note. And then I settled in the middle at $6 because I know they would gladly pay me $6 for something they owe $2,500 for or go to court. Now, either they could have placed an estoppel against me and asked me to validate. I would have gladly validated, but I may have lost due to the fact that I didn't originate that note. I purchased the note. I only purchased the assignment of the note, but I didn't generate the original note with you. So I don't have right to claim on that note unless you acquiesce. So the next time a bill collector calls you, be nice to them. Tell them, hey, you sure? Okay, if I owe this note, then I'll handle it conditionally. So I need to understand the terms of the debt. So could you mail me the note, please? Could you mail me the debt? And once they do that, then you could go into an administrative correspondence and deal with it administratively so that they would have to validate the debt. And if they don't validate the debt, then there are certain laws under the Fair Debt Credit Reporting Act, which is the FDCRPA, that regulates them, particularly the laws 602, 812, 906, 609. There are a bunch of laws that you could actually convey to them that you have a right and they need to validate the debt. They have 30 days, and the credit reporting agency must also publicly note that this particular line of credit that seems to be negative is being investigated. Should you apply for any other credit, or should you have someone else that is looking at your credit report for potential credit? Okay, so yes, you can address that immediately. Yes, you technically owe it. However, legally, you can challenge it, and there is a 90% chance that you don't have to pay that debt. I hope that helped, Francine.
Yes, it definitely helped. And then I guess to piggyback that, how do you or I stop them from calling? I don't know how they get access to your contact list and your telephone, but how do you stop them from harassing, your friends and family and me even?
Well, you can
deal with this?
you can in the law, you can Google, because we got Google today. That's awesome. Cease and desist. Cease and desist letter. Now, desist is D as in David, E as in Edward, S-I-S-T as in Tom. Cease and desist. You can send a cease and desist letter to the creditor that's calling you, because they're really not supposed to call you after the hours of 8 p.m. to 9 a.m. the next morning. That is the federal law. They cannot contact you or any third party that's related to you between those hours. And then when you tell them to cease and desist, they have to stop completely. That is a $15,000 fine for each call that they do after you let them know legally. And you normally correspond with them through postal with the first class green receipt letter that they have to sign for in order to receive. And you keep the green receipt in case you have to litigate. All right, so it's a basic cease and desist letter. The way that they get your number is when they purchase the account, all your information is with the account that you have with the original debtor. And then on top of that, your public records are attached to your credit report. If you ever notice, all your past addresses, everything about you is in your credit report. That's why I suggest every year you do a credit report audit. You pull your credit report, any addresses that you don't live at anymore, dispute them and have them removed. Contact each credit report agency and have those things removed.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. We have Natasha and then Shiva. And if you have a question, please write it down so you don't forget while we're waiting. Natasha, right?
Yeah. Hello.
Hi, Natasha. How are you?
Hi, I'm well, thanks. I have a question. So you literally just read my life with the $500 credit card thing. Like, that is my life.
Okay.
I've been dealing with that for like 2 years, maybe like 3 years now. But now it makes sense why I always feel like, kind of weird about, not being able to see the other side of it or whatever. So my question is involving like my car, right? So I bought a brand new car from Nissan. It was a really high interest rate. Everything was high, right? And so I was doing decent, I would say, for the first year, and then felt like got injured, all kind of stuff. Money was crazy. And I got a repo, right? So they repoed my car, and then my father passed and he left some money. So I was able to then go and get my car back like the very next day. Like, they took my car, it hit the bank. I went to get the car at a repo, right? So then shortly thereafter, like, I paid my car off completely. Like, it's fine, it's mine, it's whatever. My question is you were talking about repos earlier, is that because that happened, even though it was one day, even if you went back and looked, how will that affect me moving forward, like in credit stuff? Because I haven't gone to try to get another car because there's no need right now, but that could possibly be something later, even though not only was the repo aspect taken care of and all of the debt back paid and everything was paid forward, the car is completely paid off. There's no, lingering anything where the car is concerned. I'm just asking, how can that, I don't know what my next course of action would be. You get what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
I'm trying.
Yes, I understand. I understand, Natasha. This happens a lot, and it's, again, Rule of 78. It's unfortunate, some of those things that happen to you, and the banks don't care. That's not the point. The bottom line is that they make money. So in your situation, it's, of course, preventatively what you should have done. Let's talk about that. What you should have done is negotiated with leverage. Okay, look, you repoed my car, but I'm about to pay this car off and let you make money off of me with the interest that you charge me. So in order for me to give you this money, in writing, I need you to say that you will not report anything negative on my report, that you will free and clear the debt, free and clear the title to me, and in lieu, I will exchange you the full money. You send that certified mail, that would stop the dreaded, okay, you paid me, but now you're leaving a bad history on my credit report, which lasts up to 7 years, regardless if you paid it off or not. So, and unfortunately, future lenders do look at that. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't talk to them now and have them remove it. There's ways and there's laws that you can use to have them remove that bad history. So that can be done. And with the rule of 78, that's why it applies. And as we kind of matriculate forward, I'll explain how to properly purchase a car and how to properly purchase a house, okay? So I hope that helped you.
Definitely. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Natasha. Hey, fam, please make sure you're muted. Thank you. Shiva, Miko, and then Tanisha. So in that order, please and thank you.
Hi, how you doing?
Hello, sir.
I was wanting to ask about, I heard you mention about the UCC.
Yes.
I have done some UCC filing through, you know, the Moore Science Temple, but
Yes.
what are you shaking that head for?
I'm
But
sorry.
I was gonna ask you this one quick thing about it. You know how when you sign your name, you're supposed to sign, you know, UCC 1-308. Have you ever heard of that?
Yes, all rights reserved. 308 converted to 207 in 1983. Yes.
In 1983, so it's 1-207 now?
It was originally 1-207 and got re-ratified to 1-208, and now it's 1-308.
Okay, so is that still a legal standing, though, to reserve your rights?
It was never a legal standing. Not in that context, never. The UCC-1 is to make public any private contract. That's all it's there for. You cannot change your name from Donald Duck to Daffy Duck on UCC-1. That's not what it's used for. It's not to change the commercial activity of a human being. It's misinterpreted, and they tried to muse it and say, hey, maybe we could trick the system because a corporation is a person. No, an LLC is treated as a corporate person because an LLC cannot be indemnified to a lawsuit. So it's treated like a corporate person. So that corporate person can go to court and operate in standing and be able to show causation against a claim or when filing a claim. All right. So the legal parameters behind that is because, unfortunately, those that think that they can hide within the UCC, it's only to indemnify you to the world. The number 4 box on the UCC-1 agreement, where you put that novel in there, fitting everything about your life in the number 4 box, is absolutely erroneous. You have to have valid collateral to bond what's in box number 4.
But when you use
adequate collateral.
Would you use your birth certificate as the collateral?
No, your birth certificate does not create any commodity. It only lists your name and title. Just because it's printed on bond paper does not mean it generates wealth or any type of fiscal money. If it did, where is it? And if it's there, show it to me.
What about under the Social Security number?
The Social Security number is only used for census. The first 3 is the location and state. The second 2 is actually your sector. And the last 4 is the order in which it was given to you within the state and sector. The Social Security does not house any corporate equity or any money because actual money, legal tender, has no intrinsic value. All it has is the value of trade. If you would like to, like one great book that's written by the government is Modern Money Mechanics. Modern Money Mechanics, and it's written by the Department of Revenue, and it's a really great book that talks about how money is matriculated. You cannot create debt from paper. Debt has to be backed, or the paper has to be backed with something of value. The US dollar became fiat in 1971, so it has no value. It only extends credit to the people of the United States. And because the dollar extends us credit, we're allowed to file bankruptcy every 7 years. So because we accumulate debt from a dollar that has no value intrinsically, we're allowed to file bankruptcy when it's levied against us. And we're also allowed to not put debt-bearing items in our name. This is what causes poverty, and this is why most people do not take advantage of being an American, unfortunately, because this stuff is matriculated at a 6th grade level. We're not taught this. We can't put debt in our names. You create credit personally so that you can bond and create surety for the assets that you allocate. But when you are creating debt and operating in commerce, like this business meeting I'm having with you guys, it's a business meeting, okay? Because on my internet is a write-off for my company, and I'm having a business meeting, and this is a write-off because I'm operating under my DBA. I'm doing business as. I'm Aboriginal Consulting, but I'm doing business as. My holding company owns Aboriginal Consulting. I don't. I'm the CEO of Aboriginal Consulting, but Aboriginal Holdings holds the assets to my company because they own 51% of my shares. So even though I'm also the CEO of the holding company, I only registered as the registered agent of my holding company. So basically, I control everything and own nothing, so that I am not indemnified or can be put in a legal position to have law subjugated against me personally. I can write it off as debt against my corporation and not have to worry about that kind of. I don't have to change my name and
Do you do any?
So I don't have to do none of that stuff.
Do you do the difference like when you writing your name like all caps for the corporation and?
No, that's what I just said. No,
okay.
that's called 10 years in jail. It's called perjury.
Okay.
Because you cannot indemnify yourself. You can't tell me on paper that this name, because it has all capitals, and this name, because it has capital and lowercase, those two different people. And if we go to court, I'm sitting here looking at you telling me that. I'm a judge, and you telling me, see, the person in all caps, that's me. But the person with the regular letters, I don't know who that is. That's not, it doesn't work like that when you're educated on it. That is just some good-minded people, I'm sure. They just wanted to get out of poverty and not be indemnified by the government. But you don't have to do that. The laws are there. That's why we shouldn't be operating in the public. And I don't want to get ahead of myself, but your question is very important to me, because these are one of the motivating factors that have me reaching out to people like this, because you're putting yourself in danger when you don't have to and the laws are already there. Just look at real time. Donald Trump, right? When he was running for president, they asked him for his income taxes. Remember what he said? He said no. He said no. He said, I'm a private citizen. Why don't you ask Hillary? But don't ask me, because I don't have a right. You don't have a right to give you my private income, which is true. We don't, under Title 26, we don't even have to pay taxes. We're encumbered to file taxes, but we don't have to pay them. So it's understanding how to set up your corporate infrastructure. It's not just because you're a business person. Going to and from work, going to the grocery store, going to have lunch is a business transaction. Because if it wasn't, you wouldn't get a receipt. That is a ledger. You pay taxes up front when you go get a cup of coffee. You notice that. You guys get taxed from your paycheck. You take net after you've been taxed. You go into a restaurant. You pay for a cup of coffee. They tax you on top of that. That is a corporate business transaction. So you should be doing business as, instead of buying that coffee in your person. Because what if that coffee burns you? What if they do something in there that you don't like, or the service wasn't fair? You'll be able to sue them correctly in your person without counterclaim, or protect yourself from counterclaim, because you're operating in your corporate capacity. So I hope I answered that. Please be careful with that stuff. Just if you need help with that, that's what I'm here for. I've had some really bad horror stories with that stuff. Thank you. Thank you also.
Yes. Is Miko? And who did I say was after Miko? Help me, y'all.
Tanika or something like that.
Yes. Tanisha.
Tanisha.
Yes. And we're going to take Tanisha, and then everyone else hold your questions so we can move forward till he opens it up again. So write your questions down, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Hi. Hello. what is your take? You already mentioned it. So what is your take on filing bankruptcy? My mother has filed bankruptcy, I think twice, maybe 3 times in her lifetime. And she told me that big corporations do it all the time. She said this many times, and that phrase is stuck in my head. And I'm like, what does that mean? I mean, that doesn't tell me if it's a good thing to do as an individual, if necessary or not. Like, what is your take on filing bankruptcy as an individual? Will that really hurt your credit or hurt your finances?
Well, you said something very powerful. You said filing bankruptcy as an individual. That is a big difference. That is a very big difference, and very, very intelligent to ask that. When you file bankruptcy as an individual, you assume debt, whether it's legal debt or whether it's third-party assigned debt. You say, yeah, it's me. I did it. File it against me. It's written off. All the companies get their money back from the IRS, and you get stuck with a 7-year notice. All right? What should be done, bankruptcy is absolutely wonderful. I absolutely love bankruptcy. One of the best things that we have living in this country is bankruptcy, because dollar has no intrinsic value. Okay? What happens is we're operating, and like I told the young lady prior to you, we're operating in our individual capacity instead of operating in our corporate shroud. So we should be operating, doing mundane things, doing business as something, and protecting our assets and partitioning our assets away from our personage. So it's absolutely awesome. Your mom was right. It was just, it was out of context. You don't want to personally file bankruptcy. You want to be able to file bankruptcy against your company. All right, now talk about that, because that's actually what I'm segueing into next. You want to purchase things in a corporate capacity. So should you default, the company bankrupts, not you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You still here, Tanisha?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, you're next, and then we're moving forward.
Okay. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Tanisha. I hear you.
Okay. My question is dealing with the evictions. You mentioned earlier that goes on the credit report. Mm-hmm. And I actually had that happen to me. I was fighting with my landlord. We were going to court because I moved into my apartment. They didn't have repairs done. The ceiling was leaking. My daughter ended up falling, losing her baby. And I'm like, it was just really bad. So we went to court, and what the judge said was, because I told him, I said, I have no problem with paying the rent. I said, the only reason I stopped paying the rent was because I kept having to call them to come out and they weren't fixing anything. So the judge was like, well, why don't you hire somebody yourself and you pay for it? And I said, well, I don't think that that's fair if I'm renting from them and it's their responsibility. I said, now, if I have to pay for someone to come in and fix it, then, it's going to have to wipe out that rent, the back rent, because it's their responsibility. I'm renting, not buying. So the judge basically ruled in my favor, stating that I was to hire someone myself to come in and do the repairs, and it would wipe out the balance for the rent. And they were like, because I said, well, what if what he's charging me to fix the bathroom is more than what I owe in rent? Because I knew it would be. So the judge was like, what would happen is, whatever amount that you pay, you get your receipt, you contact the people at the rental office, have their maintenance person, work with them so they could see what was what. So I said, fine, I did all of that. And he says, whatever the balance is that, you owe them, your payment will wipe that out. And if whatever extra that you had to pay for those repairs, it would cancel out the future rent. So basically with what he was saying, it put me like having to only pay like a $200 and something for that October. Well, after we went to the court and everything, and the judge made the ruling, I found someone to do the work, and I gave him a $300 deposit and everything. Well, they continued on with the eviction notice. They illegally evicted me, and they put it on my credit report. I got the copy of the transcript from when I went to court stating that, it was basically ruled in my favor. And, but I haven't been able to find a place for me and my children to live since, because that is on my credit report. And of course, when they see that, they're like, oh, well, you don't pay, you got eviction notice on there. Basically, I want to know, being that I was able to get the copy of the court transcript and everything, could I sue the individuals for hardship? Because like I said, my daughter lost her baby behind this, and I have not been able to find a stable place to live as a result of this.
Most definitely you can sue. The issue is that when you were awarded the judgment, it was with prejudice. And because it was with prejudice, that left the opportunity for them to counterclaim later on by filing loss and charging it off and then placing it on your credit report. Actually, it's actually a fallacy. They cannot do that. You can actually open up an administrative correspondence with those people that you had the issue with privately by going and getting your credit report. It's going to list the lien. It's going to list who generated the lien. You're going to start to talk to them administratively. Once we're off the air and you need to reach me outside of that, I'll show you what steps to take to go through that. And over I'd say a period of about 60 days, because by law, you have to give them 30 days to respond. And if they don't respond, you have to give them notice of default, and then you will take them to small claims court.
Okay.
Small claims court, you're going to be filing a tort. And then that tort will then force them to have to validate the claims of the bad debt when you clearly have a judgment. So, okay. And that'll solve that without a problem. And it'll open up the door actually for a lawsuit and a counterclaim with you.
Okay. Okay, so now my last question in regarding this, because it has been a while that this happened. This happened to me back in 2016.
All right.
But again, like I said, I've been up and down. Life has been going on. Mm-hmm. And I was able to get it removed, the eviction notice and everything, from my credit report. I had already started this process of getting my credit together, having things removed, disputing things. So that has been removed off of my credit report. But again, like I said, it has caused a whole lot of hardship and still is, even though, it was removed just maybe a month or two ago. But like I said, during that whole time, like I still am living pillow to post. I don't have my own place as of yet still.
What state are you in?
I'm in South Carolina.
Okay, I'm not familiar with South Carolina, but what you want to do is contact your attorney general in South Carolina and ask about statute of limitations on forced insolvency. That's statute of limitation on forced insolvency.
Statute of limitation on forced insolvency.
Yes.
Okay.
And see if you're still within that parameter. Generally speaking, throughout the United States, it's between 2 and 5 years on debt.
Okay.
So you have between 2 and 5 years to counterclaim.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's it for now, Khonsu. Moving forward.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.
Yep. Appreciate all the input. Hope I was able to help give some clarity. I really wanted to get into the meat of why I'm here. Okay. This was, and I know it's a lot, but it's very applicable when it's done step by step. Now we understand how the debt is generated, right? We understand Rule of 78. Now we're going into why your credit is in such a disarray. It's what you agree to, guys. When you come in as an individual to purchase a depreciating item, you are going to be charged interest. That is the only way that the lender can make money. And the lender is going to be a bank, or it's going to be a lending institution that falls under banks and banking of Title 12. So because it falls under banks and banking of Title 12, that means that they cannot own any asset, but they can hold assets and actually loan against it. So a bank will hold other people's assets, the members' money, and they will loan against the value of the money that they house. Okay? So that means that the money that they house is federally insured. When you go in a bank, you see a gold plaque that says FDIC on it. That means that everyone's money is insured, since should they lose it or misuse it, the federal government will reimburse you. Okay? Because they're a federal institution. Okay? So when you go and let's say you're going to buy a car, when you get a CPA, they're going to tell you, they're going to set you up with a budget. Okay, now I have a class that's coming up that actually shows you how to create and generate your own budget. Okay, that's actually coming up November 1st. You have a 50, 30, 20 partisan. 50% of your bills, every time you get paid, is going to go towards, is going to be used and allocated out of your check, 50%. 30% is discretionary. That's if you're going out to dinner, if you're going to the movies, buying some shoes, whatever you're getting done, that is discretionary, 30%, because that can fluctuate. You may have to take some of that 30% and put it with the 50. Or you may take some of the 30% and put it with the 20%, because it's 50, 30, 20. 20% of your paycheck, regardless of everything else, the 50 and the 30, must be saved. 20% every time you get paid. No matter how small you think the amount is, take that 20% and save it. Put it in a savings account, okay? No matter what. And then let the 30% maintain the 2. Because that 30%, that means you're going to have to sacrifice certain pleasurables that you have throughout the month to take care of anything rudimentary. So 50% is bills, 30% is the discretionary, 20% is savings. Now this also applies to credit, because when you go and purchase an item, let's just say a house is $100,000. You want the house. Most of us do not look at if we can afford the house. We're told by a real estate agent we qualify. So, okay, all you got to do is get your score to a 580 and I can get you an FHA. What they don't tell you is the same thing I told you about the $500 credit card and how they make $52,000 off of $500. Imagine how much they're making off $100,000 worth of finance, because you buy the house with $1,000, $500. You ask your auntie, your uncle, hey, could you put this $10,000 in my bank for 90 days so it look like I got some money? It's called earnest money. It ain't honest money, it's borrowed money. And then as soon as you get the house, you put the money back. And then in 5 years, you refinance and you can't afford your bankrupt. And they knew you was going to do that. So because they know that they give you a 30-year note, which is illegal, and I'll talk about that in a few seconds, it's illegal. They know that within the first 5 years, you are going to go bankrupt because the math has already put you bankrupt the day you signed. You own the house for the first, believe it or not, guys, every mortgage is 16 to 17 pages. Every single one. Every mortgage, when you finance it, is fraudulent. If you finance a mortgage longer than 5 years, it's a fraudulent note. You agreed to the fraud because you agreed with sound mind that you could not afford the house and you needed a loan. So they placed a loan under Rule 78 in front of the house. And then when you're done paying them, you start paying on the principal. The average 30-year mortgage, it takes 15 years to pay the interest off. So a $100,000 house at 15 years of interest will cost you close to $500,000 to pay that $100,000 house off. So you'll never pay it off. It's 30 years. If you're fortunate to buy it at 30, you might be done at 60. And that is if you don't miss a single payment. If you miss a payment one time, that debt to ratio pops up on your credit. And let me tell you how that works. You buy the house at $100,000, right? You put the $1,000 down, you pay your note. Your note is probably going to be around $800 to $1,200 a month on a $100,000 house, right? So you miss a payment. Now all those OKs, you get a late payment. Well, now your DTI goes through the roof because even though you've been paying on time, you're only paying $1,000 a month, but on the note, it's going to say $99,872. That's owed after you paid the one little 1,000. So you still top heavy. So every time that you pay, they split the payment up. So if you pay $1,200, 70% of that's going towards the bank and only 30% is going towards paying the house. So the DTI is barely inching down because you're not paying for the house, you're paying for the debt. So over the years, it piles up, and that's how you go from 100,000 to 500,000. Now, the correct way to buy it, when you understand credit and debt, the correct way to buy it, if I know the house is 100,000 and I make $50,000 a year, I am $50,000 in the hole. I cannot afford that house. If I was making $100,000 a year, I cannot afford that house. The only way that I can afford a $100,000 house is I need to be making $300,000 a year if I want to finance it. Now, I want you guys to wrap your mind around that. You need to make $300,000 a year to get a $100,000 house financed properly. Now, you tell me what a $100,000 house looks like where you at. And you tell me that if you was making $300,000 a year right now, you would even look at a $300,000 house. You probably would have the courage to look at $1 million house at $300,000 because you'd probably qualify. The numbers would put you in a place to qualify. You'd go broke. It may take you 5 years to go broke, but you will go broke at $300,000. So the proper way to buy a house, number one, is you buy it with a holding company, an S Corp or an LLC. You set up an S Corp, you set up an LLC. It's only designed to hold assets. It does not conduct business. It does not need to be incorporated in your state. It only has to be organized. It needs an article of organization to determine who the president is, so forth and so on. That's the only thing that's needed. You go into the contract as an LLC. Now, what does that do? That protects you against default. If you default or foreclose on that house, the company takes the brunt, not your personal credit. The company will be levied against. You can let the company collapse. It's written off. Go build another company. You can get as many EINs as long as you live. So that stuff doesn't matter. When I'm going to buy that $100,000 house and I'm only making $50,000 a year, guess what? I need to put down $75,000 to $80,000 on that house because I only make $50,000 a year. So I'm only willing to allow the bank to finance 20% of what I make a year because 20% got to go to the house, another 35% got to go to food, living, and expenses, another 40% got to go to emergencies, then I got a car, then I got insurance, and I got children. So you have to allocate your funds based on what you have. Some of you don't have enough job to live. You just don't know it. That's why it's called a living wage. What I want everyone to do, this is homework, right? I'm going to give you guys some homework. I want you to write down living wage calculator. Living wage calculator. This is so awesome. I'm going to tell you, this made me mad. When I went to this site, I was like, are you serious? But this is what the big time CPA is going to charge you hundreds of dollars to tell you like you can't do it yourself. A living wage calculator. And when you go to the site, you'll see it'll tell you based on your state what the living wage is. Here in Illinois, I live in Chicago. Here in Illinois, one adult with no children at least needs to make $22 an hour to live. I'm not talking about balling. I'm not talking about doing well. I'm talking about $22 an hour just to get by. With the taxes and the exchange taxes, the excise taxes, that's what it costs to live here. All right, now California has gotten as high as $45 an hour just to live in certain parts of California. So it depends on the way the tax and the excise system is built in your local government. Okay, so when you're purchasing a house, you have to know the debt at the end of the note to eliminate the rule of 78. So if I know that I'm going to purchase a house and I want to protect my credit, I'm going to purchase the house corporately, and I'm going to use corporate credit. I'm going to establish corporate credit. Now, in my classes and stuff, I show how to do that. I'm going to establish corporate credit, and I'm going to put that lump sum down on a house. Most African Americans, and I think with the exception of 1 or 2 people here, most African Americans, we do not have the benefit, and a lot of non-African Americans in America don't have the benefit of getting willed a bunch of money. We'll get a trade, like, okay, my dad was this and that, and he taught me how to do it. Now we got a job just like him. We get inherited to find a job, but we just don't get $500,000 dropped in our lap because they left it in the family. So we walk into the bank a beggar automatically. Once you ask for financing, they can't wait to give you the house. And especially the lower your credit, they just want you to meet SEC standards. That's 580. The lower the credit, they love it. Especially, and most people with 800 credit scores, they still don't put the adequate amount of money down. It's all based on what you make a year, guys, and what you're taking home. That same thing applies to a vehicle. If you put $75,000 down on a $100,000 house, the note is only going to be between $300 and $500 a month, because you're only financing the remaining $25,000 for 3 to 5 years. So let's just take, let me use the calculator. I'm going to say $30,000 you're financing. I'm going to say at 10%. I'm going to tack on another $3,000. So $33,000, because the bank's going to make $3,000 for financing you for 3 years. Okay? So $33,000 divided by 5 comes out to $6,600 a year. So that divided by 12 means that you're paying $550 for a mortgage. How many of you are paying that for rent right now? And how big is your apartment? And you can have a house. And where's your equity in your apartment? But the $550 will be giving you equity in your house, because you bought the house properly. You didn't let the bank buy the house. You bought it. They financed where you couldn't meet the gap, because you can't give up your whole salary just to buy a house. Now you can't eat, and now you can't do anything but pay the mortgage. So from 3 to 5 years, you will refinance. Once you refinance, it nullifies the original note because they securitized the note. So now they're going to tack on 10 more years on the back of the original note. Now it's 40 years. So they make 10 more years of interest. So at that point, you're going to be paying close to $1 million for that $100,000 house. So this is important to understand credit. And the new system that's coming in place, it's called the Ultra FICO score. Ultra FICO score. You can look that up. I think Good Morning America just talked about it this morning. I believe it was this morning or yesterday. But the Ultra FICO score is a score in which they're going to use your bank account to determine if you're credit worthy if you don't apply at a subprime loan level, which is the 580. Okay? But the problem with that is they have access to your private bank account. So they can get in all your business, everything that you're doing, and they could circumvent your privacy. And it's not worth going into credit, especially financing hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's not worth it, guys. So it's really not a benefit, but they're trying to promote it as one. Okay? So that is, so that's the rule of 78. And I wanted to make sure everybody understands that. Let's say you have a car loan. Most of the time, even with houses, I'm not really a big proponent for paying notes. I'm going to lease a vehicle, and I'm going to lease a house. Unless I own land and I'm building my own house on it, I'm not going to ever recoup the value of the house unless I have the ability to pay it out cash, because FMV is going to kill me. If I buy a house and then 2 years later, a house burns down next door to me, I just lost $20,000 because the FMV dropped. Or if the houses in the neighborhood become dilapidated or the neighborhood goes bad, I just lost my investment. So most of the time, when you're looking at a home, look at land and build. Other than that, lease. Because if you go bankrupt on a lease, you only owe for the terms of the lease. You don't owe for the house. So if the lease is 2 years, you owe for 2 years worth of rent. And on top of it, you're going to be able to defer that because you bought it as you leased it under a corporation. The same thing applies for a car. All right? And so I'll acquiesce to questions, or if we're closing out. I did want to say that this is just the tip of the iceberg with credit, guys. This is just to give you a fundamental understanding of how credit works and how to maintain good credit. They're fundamental things. It's also about cleaning up your credit. Cleaning up your credit is just challenging what's there, talking directly to the creditors. It's nothing amazing. Don't let anyone tell you they can sweep your credit amazingly in 30 days. That does not exist, guys. It does not exist. That's not true. But Lovey, yeah, I'll acquiesce the floor to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Do we have any questions? I did have one in the group. Let me find it while I'm finding it because she had to work. Is there anybody else? Okay, Ashley. And then Raquel. Ashley, I'm muting you. Okay. Hey, love.
Okay. So I have two questions. My first one will be about toll bills. Is there any way to like fight against that, or is that something that's just you have to pay?
What kind of bill? I couldn't hear you.
Toll, like tollway bills?
Oh, Illinois tollway bills?
Well, I'm
like that. An example of like that. If I'm on the tollway and I jump a toll and I get hit with a fee.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it depends. It depends if it gets transferred to a collection agency. But if, unfortunately, if you jump the toll and it's a current toll, you would have to pay it. But if,
okay,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm like, yeah, I have current because right now I can't even get my registration done until I pay at least like between $1,100 to $1,500 down.
Okay, to be able to get your registration.
In order to start making payments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when it comes to things like that, you have two options. You can either file for hardship, and under hardship, depending upon your state, they'll set up payment plans for you. You can't wipe it clean. You can't absolve it because it's directly tied to you, and that's a state adjudication. So what I would do is go to your DMV, find out the laws on hardship, and see if you qualify for a hardship agreement.
Okay. And my second question is car, like a Mercedes-Benz under my name, that I was supposed to be co-signing, and the lady, she actually put me under, like, as full owner. The car ended up the pound, and they ended up auctioning off the car, and so now I'm stuck with, you know, that, yeah, I'm stuck with that. So is there any way that I can get that off of my credit?
And okay, so I'm trying to get some understanding because I can hardly hear you. You're saying the car was placed in, the car's in your name, right? And the car was impounded?
She was supposedly co-signing for a car that ended up being that she became you became the person that actually was the loan on it, not the co-signer. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then because the car is indemnified by you, you own the car, the fees have been levied against you. Right? How long ago did this happen?
It was, so the accident happened probably about a year and a half ago.
Okay, so have you checked your credit report?
Oh, it's not since I remember last time I checked it, but I'm pretty sure it's on there because they, you know, I'm still getting calls.
Okay, if you're still getting calls, it's probably not. But what I would want you to do is check your credit. And if you need me to, I can audit the credit for you. I won't even charge you to do that. I'll audit the credit for you and show you how to read it, show you where, if it's in collections or if it's the direct collector. Because more than likely, it's been handed over to collections, but it hasn't been reported yet. If someone's calling you, it's a third-party collector. And that would apply to what I was talking about earlier. They would not be able to validate that debt. And eventually, you can put them in a position where you can litigate them in small claims, and they will withdraw the claim. Because they don't have right to the money. They were already paid back. The original entity that filed against you was already paid. The government paid them back. So they wrote that off or charged it off, one of the two. And so now the third party is just trying to recoup some money off of you. But you're not entitled to pay them. You don't have to. But we'd have to see if it's on your report and being registered as a debt.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Raquel. Can't hear you, love.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. My question is about car title loan. Any suggestion? My hand was forced. I had to end up doing it, or we would have been put out on the street because disability does not provide enough. And I just don't know. I'm still paying after 4 years.
Oh, yeah, the interest rate is ridiculous on those things. Do you still have you have the title to the car, correct?
No, they have the title.
Okay, so they're still holding breach. Do you when you pay, how do you pay? Do you pay through your bank account and things of that nature?
Yes, it's in collections right now. There's no more interest or anything attached to it. But they've been working with me to pay it off. But when I originally got it, I was supposed to be fixed at a certain percentage, and that changed. Like, say they were calling me every month because I had qualified for 10,000, and I told them no, no, absolutely, I just need the bare minimum. And when some stuff happened, and I went back to get some money, it changed. And I was told that they can do that.
No, they can't do that. Do you have the original contract?
Yes.
Yeah, I would have to look at the contract to see what you agreed to. I don't want to make a big assumption.
Okay.
But generally speaking, with stuff like that, if you have to legally get out of it, of course you pay your debts regularly. Or sometimes you can take off a loan and pay off the loan. Or sometimes you can negotiate with the lender. Or sometimes you can go into default. You can default against it, meaning that you can claim insolvency, which is Chapter 13. You might be able to do that as well and still maintain and keep the car. Okay? Because Chapter 13 is not the end of the world. It's not, especially when you're shifting your wealth into a corporate system. You don't really have to be concerned about that, because if you have the corporate equity, you can repair your personal credit. It's just a lesson learned.
Okay.
You don't want to go into something like that. But honestly, I would have to see the terms, the specific terms in which they agreed to, because if they breached that contract or it was unconscionable, then you have a right to a counterclaim. So it depends on if they did flip and then just say, oh, no, it wasn't fixed, then that's a problem. And if it's in collections, that means the third party's holding it, and they don't have a right to it at all.
Because they had called me like 2 weeks before, me needing, at least I had to go and get more money. And so I came 2 weeks after I got the call, hey, you still can get this money, you still have this fixed rate at this amount. So 2 weeks later, when my hand was forced and I went there, it changed. And I had no other choice but to take it, or my children and I would have been out on the street.
Okay.
So,
yeah, that sounds like.
And I don't know with my hardship, because, I'm disabled, and they shouldn't discriminate, but a lot of places do. So disability does not cover much at all. and it's just been a real struggle. Just trying to keep my head above water.
Okay. Yeah, what I would need, I'll put my email in the chat. You can email me the contract and I'll look at it and I'll tell you what the situation requires.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Adira? You there, Mom? I don't know if she
may have to do *69 to unmute yourself.
I don't know if she's on a call or if she is. Anyway, her question is it better to do a DBA or LLC, or are they equal?
Okay, they're one and the same. They're an extension of one another. The DBA gives personage to your LLC. So the DBA allows you to operate on behalf as a registered agent or liaison for the LLC. So you're able to operate without having to be the owner and handle all fiscal operations, such as accounts and things of that nature.
Thank you. Mary Reese. I don't even see Mary anymore. Are you there, Mary? Maybe not. Miko.
Okay, so essentially, are you advising us to take the steps to establish our own corporation or corporate system for ourselves to stand in our place for business ventures, like securing homes, cars, new assets, and so on, basically as a legal shield to cover us as individual entities? Is that what you're basically saying, if I understand correctly?
Yes. Yeah, I'm basically saying that because you really don't need to put financing notes in your personal name. That's something you definitely do not want to do.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I understood correctly. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And that doesn't mean y'all go out here and just start being reckless.
No.
Please don't do that. And make sure you hire somebody like Khonsu so that you have an understanding of what you're doing. Don't get out here Googling and get the basics and then get right back in the situation that we're in now.
Right, and that, yeah, definitely. I would most likely pursue doing business with Khonsu. Yeah, because he sounds like he knows his stuff.
I appreciate that.
I'll bring you the best of the best.
Yes, thank you so much.
You're most welcome. Monique, Olivia.
Hello. I had a question. From listening, I got several questions now. The first things first is I have an established business. I am actual LLC. I also am over 17 years of a actual certified tax preparer. The question with that is I own a business also that does virtual call centers where I set up people to work from home. I've been trying to establish like business credit with it, but it seems like I'm melanated and it's not getting across. They're not wanting to fund. I do know that someone told me that even myself, I thought about, because it is the business I put in there multiple, because it has multiple venues on what it's doing. Like it is going to venture out in 2019 to do a t-shirt and some other craft stuff. and then it's gonna also, and it also does selling on and fixing computers on eBay and stuff. So my question to you is, how do you establish credit? Because I have the LLC, I have the incorporations and all that. I don't pay for that for all the state, but I really don't want it to be in Tennessee no more. And I'm thinking because it has a business, it has a home address as a business address rather than having a corporation address, I want to say. Does that affect where it's not going to get us no credit?
Okay. Well, this is what happens. You know, this happens a lot. I have a lot of clients that have this problem. It's infrastructure. You have to scale your businesses down a bit. And then they need to be compartmentalized. Okay. You don't want it to be a one-stop shop, because what happens is when you apply for a bid for business credit, they attach what is called a SIC code to your business. And it's a standard industry code. And that lets them know, based on your industry and what you say you do, they look at the overall competition of the industry. Is it volatile? Is it rare? Where do you rank amongst those? What is the actual value of your company juxtaposed to another company against your highest competitor? So when you engage in trying to get a business loan, you actually need holding companies. You probably need about 3 holding companies. That's what it looks like. And you're probably going to have to get or re-ratify your businesses. You probably want to make them corporations, okay? Because you want those holding companies to take ownership of those entities. So each entity needs to have its own industry code. And then you have a couple of holding companies that hold the assets. And the reason you want that is because you want the holding company to be able to pull the credit and then partition it down to the companies. You also want to make sure that you can establish your own salary on paper so that it's not indemnified against you to have great credit, so that you can build corporate credit without bringing your personal credit into the mix. So really, it just takes business consulting and business infrastructure, and over a period of time, you'll establish it. It takes about 3 months. It'll take about 3 months to form that and do that the right way, because you got too much going on out of one entity. So there's no way a bank's going to give you a loan, because they can't recognize how you're paying your bills on time, what you're profiting the most at. So all those things have to be kind of cleared up. It has to be partitioned.
Okay. So basically, I need to break this business. Instead of having it as one company, I need to start breaking it down to each company has its own business name, business corporation, LLC.
Well, EIN number. That's the number one thing. You want EIN numbers because that identifies each business. Now, whether it's a limited liability company, you have incorporations, you have corporations, you have S-corps, you have LLCs. The only difference between those are the taxes. Some are pass-through taxes, meaning it goes from the owners to the actual investors. Some are taxes that go directly to the owner. That's the only reason for setting those up. The most flexible is the LLC. You may want to use the LLC, but LLCs cannot create shares. They can only create partnerships and joint ventures based on percentage. This person has 20%, the other person has 25%, so forth and so on. So you may want to set those up as corps. The taxes may be a little high, but that's okay, because then you'll set up holding companies, which are LLCs, and then they, based on the voter shares that you create with the corporations, can pull 51% from each corp and then hold it as an LLC holding company. Because what that means is, by you owning so many companies, I own 25 independent businesses, okay? So I have 25 businesses that are running at one time. If I pulled all that income, I'd probably go to jail, because I'm not paying the taxes they're going to charge me. I'm not. You know, I'm not going to pay 75% luxury tax. I wish I would give you all my money like that. No. So you have to partition each corporation with EINs, and then you want to set up holding companies so those assets are moved. When I report taxes, I say that I make $35,000 a year. I don't make that, but that's what I'm going to tell the government legally. I make $35,000 a year. The rest of my stuff is liquidated and allocated properly. I show the allocation and I do it legally because you have too many corporations. No bank is going to loan that to you because they can't identify what you do. They can't determine the risk. They need to be able to determine the risk. So each company, you said one deals with computers, one deals with this and that. Each one of those needs an EIN. And you probably want 2 to 3 holding companies that will house all of those assets.
Okay.
And then you want to establish DBAs for each holding company so that you can create DBA banking accounts that the money will then be sitting in. And to go further, just further with that, is you're eventually going to have to set up family limited partnerships and private trusts so that all the assets are encumbered in trust, family limited partnerships, and wills. But that's just down the line once you establish the basic stuff.
Okay, so we're going to need to talk because we come in the end of the year, come 2019, we're going to get this together.
I understand.
We're going to get this together because right now I'm saying that, like I said, it's one company and it got all this stuff under it. And when I report taxes, like you said, I know I'm the tax lady. So I know what not.
So you know what I'm talking about, right?
Right.
Because I'm going to come to you, Miss Tax Lady, and I need those Schedule A, B's, and C's. Those are my best friends. But they won't be my best friend if I'm getting all that income to one entity, and I got to try to substantiate write-offs. Each individual is right around $14,000 or something like that.
You're exactly right.
So as a corporation, it's $14,000 too. So that means that I can gift. We can get as elaborate as we want because even though I have 25 companies, I also have 13 offshore companies in Canada and the Bahamas. So what I do is I loan money to myself from my companies because I take US dollar, convert it to Bahamian dollar, and that way I don't have to pay the excise tax. So when I'm filling out my Schedule A, B's, and C's, the people that I employ, I pay them part-time. I only use part-time employees. I pay them under $9,000, so they become children, corporate children, and I get write-offs against those employees. You know that because they're not taking it per capita over $10,000. So I get write-offs for that. So now I'm able to substantiate and allocate more of my funds, diversify them, and liquidate them. I don't let them sit in an account because that's a federal institution. You cannot have thousands of dollars, everybody, sitting in savings accounts and think they're not looking at you. Because then, Olivia, you be calling Olivia saying, why in the hell do I own $15,000? Because you got $45,000 in the bank. That's why. You can't have that money sitting still collecting interest. You can't do that. Right. So I just wanted to make that clear. And it's good that I have someone that's in the tax field that validates what I'm talking about because it's really, really important that even when you're making money, you're tax astute because taxes bankrupt you in 3 to 5 years.
Sure do.
3 to 5 years, average business.
You see what I'm saying? This core, I started doing it on the side, and then I brought it in. Someone told me to do it, put it in as an EIN number. Then they told me to do a corporation, and they've been giving me the stuff of telling me what to do. But I'm at my second year, and the business is like on a hold right now because I'm going through Lovely's course to get my mind right. Because
that's right. Yes, right.
At the point I'm thinking to myself, like, oh my goodness, I might just get rid of this business because it's running me crazy.
Don't do that.
It's just too much. So, but to go, my second question was my personal. Like I had signed to be the second card holder on my daughter's. She had a Macy's card. I was the second person. Okay. And what happened is, I guess she ended up going through a class or something and found out that she could write it off or whatever because it got on her credit. And somehow they flipped it and put it on my credit. Now that I pulled my credit report and I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. I'm not the original person who signed it. So as me being a second person, how did they automatically do that? And can I write it off? Like, I'm not paying this.
Yes, you can. You can challenge it. It's easy to take off. That's because you didn't do it. It wasn't anything underhanded. You're encumbered. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. Because you were an authorized user, you have to also clear your account. Once the account has been closed and terminated, then you have to terminate the debt as well.
Okay, all right. Yeah, because I was confused. Like, wait a minute, why is this on my credit report? When she had us pull out a credit report, I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm about to kill somebody. But, but okay, I understand now. So I got to write a letter too and say that I'm disputing that and want to get it off.
Yes.
Okay, all right. I think that. Okay, one last question. Bankruptcy. You said something about bankruptcy. I have a question. Okay, so when I do people taxes, they say I file bankruptcy. And like I had one lady say that, well, my bankruptcy due said that I got to turn over my tax return. Is that true? Because that's the only way that they go, because anything that's on there, they can't clear off unless they turn over their next taxes for the next year?
No, that's not necessarily true. It depends on the purpose. When they ask you why are you filing Chapter 7, or why are you filing Chapter 13, they do an audit of your debt. If it's something that's not clear, they'll ask for that. So it's a case-by-case basis.
Oh, okay.
It's not just an automatic, we need to see your return. Because most of the time, they'll even ask for a 4506T. And I know you're familiar with that.
Right.
If you're in the tax world. They'll ask for a 4506T, which will give the tax history, more so than just a tax return.
Right, because that's what I thought she would have asked for. That's what I was preparing to give her, and then she was like, "No, they said they wanted the tax return because they're going to take that refund for that year." And I'm thinking, like, huh?
Right. No, that's not general. That's just case by case.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I'm done.
You're welcome, Olivia. Thank you so much.
So we do have several more questions. If we can try to keep them limited so we can respect everybody's time and Khonsu's as well. He has put his email in here for anybody who'd like to speak to him directly or work with him. And while we're there, one thing I'd like to say is, before I move forward, Khonsu, please talk about your upcoming course that is popping off on November 1st. And secondly, in this realm of world, y'all stop co-signing for people. I don't care if it is your child. Do not do that shit. Don't do that. Don't put your name on nothing for nobody. That is a no-no. Don't even become an authorized user, because you are saying that you are going to be responsible for that debt. And if they don't pay, that is going on your credit. Do not do that. In the law of the ignorance. Khonsu, please tell us about your course coming up.
Okay, yes. I just want to add a quick anecdote to what you just said. Because my son, I have 3 boys from a previous marriage, and I have a grandson. And I don't know how many of you have adults for children. I don't like them. I don't like my children. I love them. But when they become adults, they need to go to hell, like go to an island somewhere. Get the hell away from them. Okay? I cannot take care of grown people, all right? That don't make sense to me. It shouldn't be, it's not fair, I think. But my youngest son, who's 6'6", 290, asked me to help him get a car. I said, dude, you're big as a car. You can't get a car. Your dad is a financial specialist. Your credit score is 820. Why can't you get a score? Why can't you get a car, dude? No, I just don't want it to go on my credit. I said, dude, you playing with me. You playing with me, right? So I said, all right, if you are caring enough to help somebody, let me give you a free tip, a UCC1 agreement. This is why it's important, guys, even if you're not in business, create an LLC for no reason at all, okay? And write up a security agreement. In my class coming up, I show how to write a promissory note and a security agreement. In the security agreement, you attach collateral. I want that laptop, I want your car, and I want your TV. If you don't pay me, I'm going to take those. Okay? I do this to my family members all the time. When they ask me for little money and stuff like that, I say, look, I need them serial numbers off your stuff. Huh? I say, yeah, I need the serial numbers off your TV, that Apple phone. I need all that. Because I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to call you. I'm going to sue you. You're going to wake up one day and you're going to look at your credit. I will have gotten my money back because I'm going to write it off. and I'm just gonna move on about my business. So that's a tip. And that's funny that Lovey, we always connect on so many things, Lovey. That is so scary. I talk about that in my class about that. It's called a 100-year plan and how you write certain provisions in your trust. So November 1st, I've been really busy. I had 2 lectures in California. I just got back literally yesterday, and I was supposed to promote it last weekend. I didn't do it. So I'm going to start tomorrow. November 1st, it is financial mastery class. It's 22 modules, 7 weeks. It's a recurring course. It's an initial payment fee. You pay $3.99 and you have the course. I did show in the webinar that other people, I don't know why they're doing this to people, but they're charging like $3,500. And I don't know why, but that's what people charging to do this. And I'm also, within the course, I'm teaching this, which is credit mastery. So it is a powerful, powerful course. We've been talking almost 2 hours here. And just the information alone, and I'm not bragging about it. I just know what I'm doing. You know, when you stay in your comfort zone, I stay in my lane. You know, I'm not going to try to fly an airplane. I don't know how. But when it comes to finances, credit, when it comes to the mystic world, that's what I do. So in understanding finances and credit, I'll gladly send links. If you hit my email and say, Khonsu, send me the links, I'll send you the links of the past shows, the past 2 webinars. You can watch those webinars and see how informative. You can actually apply stuff the minute you watch it. And you'll see how important your finances are. And you can sign up. You can let me know when you're ready to sign up for the class. It starts November 1st, guys. So if you're going to be late, because I have a big demand for the class, so I'm actually starting times on staggers, like a staggered schedule, because we're going to be meeting once a week. And it'll be about an hour. The class won't be too overbearing. It'll be about an hour. It's going to require homework. You're going to have a computer and things of that nature. But it's going to be absolutely phenomenal. And everybody that's tuning in tonight, I really hope you can attend the class. I really do. I think it's going to change your life. I know it will. And I'm always here to help. I'm really a personable person. Believe it or not, you can reach out to me anytime that you need help. I'm always here. So November 1st is the sign up time. I'm going to get the information to Lovey so she can get it out to anyone that can't reach me on here. And man, we're going to make mountains move. So I'm looking forward to it.
Also, for those of you who are business owners, he will teach you how to set up your companies the correct way. Because a lot of us jump out here, just get an EIN number and create a business name and go get a business license and say we in business.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. So like Olivia, in a situation, she has this company, and I know everybody was telling her to do this and do that. Now y'all see through speaking through her that there are ways that it can be set up to run smoothly for her and not give her the stress where she's at right now. Like, I'm ready to just throw the towel in. So we put a lot of things on ourselves because of lack of knowledge. I got questions. Hold on. While I look up this one, let me see. Co-signing.
Yes.
Xavier one, right, I believe that's correct. Once she or he, I'm not for sure, co-signed and the car got repoed. And in the car getting repoed, she's been paying the repo on the car. I'm assuming that's what this is saying. But it's rumored that the other person that she co-signed for has started the process of bankruptcy. Should she continue to make the payments or not worry about it?
Do not make those payments anymore. Do not make those payments. Reach out to them and ask them to validate the debt, to send you the debt, to send you the note. Send me the contractual agreement where you're holding a title with my name on it. Because right now, the collateral is the title. When you're done paying, you get the title, boom, you're on the car. So show me the title with my name on it. If it's a co-sign agreement, I guarantee your name isn't on it. The principal's name should be on it, not you. So do that and have them send the subsequent tally of bill to you. And then I'll show you what to do with that afterwards. This is a little bit complicated.
Awesome.
They said they sent me the auction bill. I don't know what that is. Xavier, right?
That's the same.
It's the same question?
That's the same. They sent them the auction bill, but that's not saying that your name is on the title.
No.
That's two totally different things.
What's that called? The legal term is called tacit procuration. That means that they took your silence as acquiescence, as acceptance, and levied against you and put a lien on you. And they just went to a court where they knew you wouldn't show up, and the judge filed the judgment because your name is part of the note. But that is a gross assumption. That's a $25,000 fine for every month that they actually listed you as the owner. And trust me, they'll take that off rather than pay that debt.
Mm-hmm.
You take them to small claims, it's going to cost them more to hire an attorney than it is to just absolve it. So I'll show you how to take care of that. That's not a problem.
Good question. How do you separate your personal from business credit? Because a lot of times they ask for your personal credit to back up business credit, or is that so?
Yes. You can, when building corporate credit, there's two types of loans. There are stated loans, and then there are capital loans, non-financial loans. Most of the time, people don't blend their credit properly. I actually own a company. I also build credit unions, everybody. I've built 6 in the city of Chicago, gotten a lot of awards for that. I'm very proud of that too. Not too many black men build banks. And I'm very, very proud of that. And in doing that, I'm able to create conglomerate investing groups. And we have corporate trade lines, which actually substantiate the age of the corporation and actually give activity to the corporation. So if your corporation shows activity, then you can actually take and go and get a non-stated loan, meaning that you don't need financials, you don't need bank history, and you don't need to PG it, which is personally guarantor your corporation with your personal credit. You won't need to do that because you can add credit worthiness to the corporation that you already have set up. So that's not very difficult at all. But you can separate it from your personal. Okay. That's the whole objective of even having this conversation tonight, is to stop putting debt on your personal credit. Once you get your credit to a great score, anything over 730, just maintain the credit you got. It's going to go up organically, but keep those notes and all that debt off your credit.
Got it. Shiva.
Unmuted.
Yep.
Oh, hi. I know I was a few minutes tardy for class. Please excuse me. But I wanted to know, did you hit anything on the student loans?
No. What would you need to know? No, I haven't.
What's the best way to handle them?
Well, it depends. If they're deferred, keep them deferred. If they're deferred, that's not a problem. If they're defunct, then that means they went to a collection agency and they're handled just like any other debt. It's just installment debt. They try to come across as they're part of the government and all of that. They are not. They're a corporation just like everyone else. And when you default, it's just challenging the debt because it's a third party and they already sold the debt and got paid for it.
But you can't get it removed, right?
Yes, you can. Most definitely.
Oh, I'll be in Chicago this weekend.
You better get your one-on-one book now. Head over to the email box now, Shiva.
Yeah, hit my email.
I did already. I emailed them.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
This email. He might need the assistant of M to get in there and help him with his inbox.
That's right.
Sharon.
Don't do that, lovey boy. Bad as I need that. Woo, don't do that.
Miss Sharon, you're up, love.
Okay, I have a family member that had a paid and cleared house. They took out a loan against the house and lost their job. The house went into foreclosure a couple of years ago.
Okay.
Found an agency here that apparently Obama had set up for people who had long-term unemployment, would help them maintain their homes. In the interim, we figured out that the loan holder was trying to run the clock and force her into bankruptcy. We were able to get the agency to catch up the back payments on the loan, but we filed bankruptcy to, I guess, buy us some time. She didn't go through with the bankruptcy because the agency came through and bailed the house out. Went along fine for 2-3 years, lost her job, and she's in the same situation again. We were able to go back into the agency and apply, but we haven't heard yet. Would she be able to file bankruptcy again? It hasn't been 7 years from the first time.
What type of bankruptcy did she file the first time?
I believe it's the one where you reorganize the debt. It's not the discharge.
Chapter 13. Chapter 13.
Okay, I think that's what it was.
Yeah. Chapter 13, there's a stipulation because usually chapter 7, it takes 7 years. But with chapter 13, there is a administrative hearing that is taken to determine if you're in dire need or you legally have been absolved for a certain amount of time. So how long has she been discharged from her first chapter 13?
Well, she never went through with it because the agency here was able to work with the lender, got the back payments caught up, was going along fine. And she decided, called the attorney, I'm not going to go through with the bankruptcy. They've taken care of the situation. I'm back in good with the lender. So going along, and then basically she got ill and lost her job.
Okay, so basically by law they had to do that. The facilitator, being the bank, had to do that by law of SSE. The SEC says that they have to try to give an opportunity to cure on a default of a mortgage longer than 90 days. When it goes into 120 days, they have to go into reconciliation, and that can take a while. So once they did the reconciliation, what happened was she defaulted again. So she didn't file chapter 13. She's able to file 13 now. She can do that. Okay, because the initial, what they did is they helped her. They can't force her into what the young lady asked me earlier. They cannot force her into insolvency. Exactly what you were talking about.
That's the way it's saying, because they wouldn't work with us. We were watching the clock because they had already filed with the courts. We had a date.
Right.
And we're getting closer and closer to the date. And, nothing's being done on their end. They're ignoring our letters, returning payments, the whole bit. And then when the agency came through, they accepted the monies and the whole bit. The payment did go up a little bit higher, but I figured that was the interest. I don't know.
That was the interest on the refi.
And then, like I said, she was going along fine for a couple of years and then lost her job again. So I was wondering, we went back to the agency, but I was hoping that, we had the option of filing bankruptcy again if need be. Because, we're close again.
Yeah, that's the best move. You want to file bankruptcy, and then in hindsight, when you buy a house and you're stuck in the financing torture, this is when you realize that it's a bad contract, like most mortgages are. You want to set up a holding company that in the event of this ever happening again and you establish credit with that holding company, you could go into quit claim. You would purposely let it go into foreclosure. When it comes to court, you would have the LLC purchase the house, quit claim, pay out the taxes, and buy the house.
Oh.
That's what could have been done, but again, we don't know that. But
Well,
it could have been an
hindsight
entirely
now.
different entity. Yeah. But I
Okay.
would still do that, even though you're filing bankruptcy. I would still set up a corporate trust, like a LLC, trust account, DBA, that's going to
And
be a
let
holding
them
company.
take the hit in case anything goes down.
Yep. Because because the house has a mortgage, then what I would do is I would continue to pay my mortgage. If I default again, then I'm going to let it go into bankruptcy. I'm going to let it go into foreclosure. When they're going to offer you a quit claim option, you'll be able to quit claim it in the adjudication period of the foreclosure when you first go to court. The corporate entity could then come in, whoever that CEO is, she can appoint you CEO, okay? She could still be registered agent but have no affiliation with. But she can appoint you CEO of the other holding company. You can literally come in with the collateral that you guys have with that holding company and quit claim the house clear out. And it's still within the family. You still own it. You sell it back to her.
Okay. I wish I'd have known that with some property the family owned in Alabama that we lost, but that's another story.
Yes,
I thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Ms. Sharon. Someone asked, would you explain what's a holding company? Because I don't think it wrapped around them through you speaking. So they get it.
A holding company holds assets. So an asset is something that holds its value or that is free and clear of any notes or debts. So a holding company holds assets like a house, like a car, like jewelry, like clothing, anything, stocks, bonds, that's a holding company. It holds assets.
Sign up for the class, love. You'll get all that information for the individual that just asked. I promise. Darwin.
How you doing, Darwin?
Hey, greetings, brother. Thank
Peace,
you for sharing your wealth of knowledge with us this evening.
Yes, sir.
I just had two quick questions. What is your take on using CPNs to try to rebuild your credit?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. CPNs. Whew. Okay, I get this question every day. CPNs originally are SENs. They're secondary chance numbers. I do build them. I do use them. There's a good side, and then there's a unlawful side. Most of the time that I use SENs is if I do have quite a few celebrities and politicians that use my services. And the purpose of an SEN, they use CPN so they don't go to jail for misusing it because it's an SEN. The purpose is to protect your identity as you operate in basic commerce, paying bills, paying rent, things of that nature. Okay? So when you're using an SEN, it's to protect your identity. Now, this is where the law gets broken. When you're going to try to buy a house under a different auspicity, when you're going to try to get credit to use and destroy on purpose with a CPN, that is punishable by 10 years. I have had people that have gotten CPNs, went and got them a Benz, went and got all the luxury stuff. They're paying their bills on time, paying the CPNs on time. 5 years later, they get knocked on the door, they do 3 years in the penitentiary. Literally. Because it is not to be used in the exchange of commerce. I'm not a licensed bar attorney. I cannot tell you, hey, go use the CPN, good luck. What I can tell you is at your own risk. Do they exist? Yes. Can you use them for that? Yes, you can. Will you go to jail? Probably. It just may take a little time. The minute you mess up, the minute that file merges, if you make one mistake of mentioning your original file with that CPN and it merges, perjury, you got a problem. That's where the mistake comes, brother. I'm not one to advocate it, using it. I do build them. I build them for celebrities that have attorneys that make sure those celebrities don't use them damn numbers illegally. They only use them when they're buying plane tickets. They use them when they're going to the grocery store because they have a bank account with the CPN. That's what they use it for. They don't use it to go get new credit with it. So be very careful of people that are selling those CPNs to do that, bro, because that's fraudulent.
All right, thank you. That makes a lot of sense. I appreciate that. And also had a question. Do you help individuals who are building with the how to structure that?
Investments? Yes, definitely. I'm very skilled in Forex. I'm skilled in investments. I do own a real estate investment company. We're at $9 million per capita as far as real estate investments. Assurance Enterprises LLC. I do teach real estate investing. I actually, but this class was in such a big demand. I did not have the ability to put the class together. Wholesale real estating, guys, any one of you can wholesale real estate with zero money and no credit, period. It is not hard at all to assign notes at all. Do not be intimidated. This is another class. I don't want to get all into that. But yes, real estate investing and simple money investing, I'm very, very well versed in that. So that's not a problem. I can do that.
Telling y'all need this man in your life. I'm not trying to sell nothing, I promise. Nashiki, how about you ask your own questions, my love, because you got a lot going on in the chat box, babe.
Yeah, I see that.
Hi.
Hey, beautiful.
Thank you so much for doing the class. So actually, like 5 more questions came up since I typed that one. But for that question, so I do understand. I'm following a lot of what you got going on just because of my own finance background and deep, in-depth study and research and all of that. But I know that a lot of people within the Magical Mystic community, and especially in L's Cafe, have filed their LLC for the first time this year. And so there are many, many benefits. But we're coming up on tax time real soon, and I know that a lot of businesses get to claim the loss for the first 4 years,
right.
which could be a good thing. But I'd like for you to expound on that for the people, because I think they need to know it. And then just for myself personally, and that's why I was asking about kind of your one-on-ones or whatever. I'd like to hear about your experience with potentially land trust. Like, for example, I have some estate property, which I probably will pay off, if not this year, next year. Okay. And I don't want to put it in my name once it's paid off. And I don't want to keep it in a state either. And so I'm thinking about land trust. I've looked at some stuff about it, but I just kind of put it on hold. So I would like to know your experience with kind of estate trust or land trust.
Sure. Well, estate trust, I normally like family limited partnerships, if you're familiar with those. Family limited partnerships, you can disperse the ownership amongst family members, and you can disperse it in percentage. Or you can set up, once again, an LLC or an S Corp and bequeath ownership to the S Corp in the form of a revocable trust. And that way, when you set up that trust, the land, you don't really have to worry about the land trust. You can do that. My thing with land trust is tax. That's the thing right there that you got to worry about probate. And you want to make sure that all encumbrances and excises are free and clear when you say you pay it off. That all encumbrances are free and clear from your personage. Because when you pay it off, it's under your personage. And then when you sell it or bequeath it, you want to make sure that there is no excise adhesion, so that no liens or levies can be placed on that land in the event that probate has to come about. If you don't want the land in your name, which is very smart, because you don't want to encumbrance the tax of ownership, then I would disperse it in a organization, such as an LLC, through articles of organization, and give estimated value of the land and disperse it in shares. And that way, you can control the land and not have to be encumbered by owning it.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does that help?
That's a good question too. I don't get to talk about that.
We're gonna have to talk. I got it on my list. We got
it. And Vicky will be next, but before we go to Vicky, can you explain briefly what's your consult fee and what does it look like to meet with you one-on-one?
Okay. Normally with consulting fees, I do have people that ask me to work with them one-on-one. And that is a wide variety. Are you working, do I need to work with you daily? I may be dealing with people that deal with hundreds of thousands of dollars a day, and they're trying to maintain their budgets. Or I work with someone that's just working every day. So that it depends. Normally, if someone is really encumbered, if they got all kind of businesses going on, and they're trying to allocate funds, then my fees can get as high as $5,000 a month, guys. Like, it gets that elaborate. So I'm only answering the question, but quite naturally, I don't think anyone here is doing that kind of work where it's going to cost $5,000 a month. Okay. Unless all you guys are like millionaires, that would be really awesome. If I could get $5,000 a month from you guys, that would be so cool. But generally, my consulting fees are generally a flat fee initially, and then based on the labor that I have, then I charge monthly. Usually, my flat fee is $500 for retaining, and that is that we go into a contract agreement, work for hire, and then we have an expiration date on it. It is competition, non-disclosure, and then you say, okay, this is what I want done. I want this set up, and I want this set up, and I want that set up. I want my trust set up. I want my will set up. I want this. That's what I would do. Now, if you want budgeting or creating a business model and then scaling it, then that's another fee. If you want me to maintain those things, then that's what a monthly fee comes in, and it depends on the workload. It depends on exactly what I have to do, because the information is free, guys. It's not like I can't tell you something and you go cross-reference me. I'm really glad that I have a tax professional in here and a finance professional that supports what I'm talking about. So it's not like somebody coming out of nowhere just talking crazy, okay? Because in finances, it really depends on the person's particular situation. When you're dealing with somebody like me, generally your situation becomes better or stabilized, one of the two. So my job is to stabilize it. I can't really be accountable to making you better or making you more money. That's against the law. Even though I do have a Series 7, I can't give you, well, if you do this, you're going to make this much money. That's illegal. I can't put it on paper, and I can't be indemnified to it. But I can help you maintain or go beyond your expectations by staying balanced over a particular amount of time. So generally speaking, I'm usually used from between 3 to 6 months, because that's generally what's needed to create a proper budget, to allocate funds properly, to know how to use bank accounts effectively, to set up escrow accounts that work with one another, to set up onshore and offshore companies. It depends on how elaborate you want to get, because it gets really elaborate. You know, we can get to a point where you have 60 companies with 40 holding companies, and those companies have sub-companies, and those companies loan to each other, and then that company gives to that company. And then we can have non-for-profit companies. If you want to help the community, we can set up non-for-profit companies that will help you exasperate funds that are just sitting there, because you don't want income when you're in business. You want to make as less as possible, believe it or not, on paper. You really don't want money sitting somewhere. So someone like me that's a financier and a financial consultant is going to help you keep your money liquidated, so it's always in traction. It's always doing something somewhere. All right, so it can vary, and that's why it usually takes a one-on-one consultation initially to figure those situations out.
Thank you, love. Upcoming class, do you offer payment plans?
You know what? Somebody asked me that last night. There was a young lady, she just got evicted, and she was in a hotel, and she asked me, could she please take the class? She has nowhere to live. And I was like, whoa. So as of today,
about sacrificing.
Yeah.
Giving up something.
That's like
something.
And I am a mystic, guys. I'm an African spiritualist. I'm an Ifa priest and Apollo priest. So I'm really big on spirit. So yes, there are payment plans. Because my ancestors spoke to me last night about this, I don't know what it is yet. I'm going to be honest, because I didn't think about a payment plan. But once that came to me, I listen to my spirit. I don't question my inner voice. I used to. I act immediately on it because I've surrendered completely to my ancestors. They guide me. So I don't know, guys, but it's there. It'll be there by the 1st. I got to figure it out.
I'll keep y'all posted. I talk to him every day, several times a day. So I'll keep you posted. And I'll keep y'all on top of that. Vicky, you've been waiting so patiently. However, for those of y'all that needed payment plans, and you created that space, so don't back out. You asked for it, so you best commit to it.
Yep.
That is your ancestors answering your prayer.
Yep.
Vicky.
Hello.
Peace, Vicky. How are you?
I'm good.
Great.
So I don't even know. I'm sitting here with my grandma.
Oh, that's what's up. Peace to the elder. Peace to the elder. Ashe.
So I'm 20, going on 21. So when you were talking about credit cards, I kind of felt that when you're talking about the 30, 20, 50, I was like, oh, dang. Because I was like one of those people, I was like, oh, if I just go and save up $500, I can just go boom and pay it. But then you told me it's a gradual type thing, you know, and I was like, dang. So that really spoke to me. But my question was, you were talking about the pros, right? Well, I'm sorry. Let's bring it back. Currently staying with grandma. I have a car that was paid off by my great grandmother, and she handed it down to me. So basically, I'm riding it till the wheels fall off. It's like a 2005 Chevy Cavalier, and I don't know when its expiration date is gonna hit. So I already know with the current job that I have right now, I work fast food. I'm probably not going to be able to get another car based off of my income unless I get like a second or third job. But I'm currently working on doing my own type of business, like trying to work on like, you know, something that I can, you know, make my own money through my own ways, through my own means. But anyways, my question was, what's the pros of leasing versus buying? Because if I want to get a new car, should I work towards leasing it or buying it? And if I want to work towards a new living space, should I lease an apartment or look towards saving up, getting a house? Of course, I'm 20 something. A house isn't in my vision right now. So I was just wondering, what are some steps that I can make to, you know, move upward, like get some upward mobility up and out onto the world that we currently are living in right now?
Okay. I understand. Okay. I'm going to send you, make sure you reach out to me on my email and remind me who you are, Vicky Lee. Okay. I'm going to send you the link to my last webinar. I talked about this, and it's funny how spirit works. Okay. I was talking about what it's like to buy an old dilapidated car at $8,000, have rust spots on it. It's not being able to buy the car, it's being able to maintain it. We don't factor that in. It's two things. I would think you, by being 20 years old, your maturity is exceeding your experience. If you're in Lovey's atmosphere, never say probably and never say suppose. It's will and I am. Okay, young lady, it's will and I am. It's never a probably, and it's nothing you don't know. You know everything. You know everything. I'm telling you, we know everything. All our answers are in here. We are eternal. There's no time. There's no month. There's no one day soon I'm going to get a car. You already have the car. When you sit in that car, say, I'm sitting in this Benz. I love it. I love this brand new car. All right? It's not a coincidence you're sitting here. And you're sitting with your elder. Talk to your elder. Respect and honor her and learn from her. Okay? It's very important that you stay in touch with Lovey, because at 20 years old, you will retire at 30. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. If you're serious, you can retire at 30. Seriously.
All right, I'm taking your word.
If I knew that, don't take my word, manifest your word. Don't take my word, manifest mine. Don't take my word. You don't know me like that. You manifest your existence because you got way more power than you realize. Nothing wrong with that. You're 20 and you're speaking like you're 200 years old. That's okay. That's what we all do. So I'm going to give you the video and then we're going to talk. And you, because you're 20, I'm going to be biased. I'm not charging you. Everyone else in here is grown. I'm not going to charge you. Love you, make sure. I'm not charging her. And we're going to make sure that you retire at 30.
All right. Thank
Okay?
you so much.
We're going to make sure of that. We're going to make sure of that. The job that you have, the car that you have, is the sentimental value. So Love is going to work with you and show you how to build an altar. You're going to take certain aspects of it. What? I'm talking to an ancient. What? Well, I mean, 20-year-old people got altars. Okay, look here. Look here. You're going to get some items from that car that resonate with you. You're going to sit in the car. You're going to meditate. You're going to find out what items call out to you. When that car needs to go, it's going to cost you more than it is to drive it. Okay, you'll probably save more money in Uber in a year than you will driving that car. If it's broken down, if it's operational, then get you go online and get the instruction manual and find out the maintenance schedule of the vehicle. Okay, and then you maintain the vehicle based on the maintenance schedule. Find out how much mileage you got in the car. We're going to go over that when you email me. Okay, we're going to go over that. And when I have my class on the 1st, I expect you to be there. Take advantage of a blessing. Do not miss out on a blessing. I expect you to be there. I don't expect you to miss a day. If you miss a day, I'm going to charge you. Okay? And I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to show you how to do it. It is not difficult at all. Do not be intimidated by it. You're wiser than you think you are. It's not a problem. Trust me. We're going to take care of that, okay?
All right. Thank you.
All right.
So much.
I got you. No problem.
You agree to your blessing?
Yes, I do.
It is recorded. You are bound to your blessing. Hey, so we're going to be closing out here. For those of you who have businesses, like Nishiki was saying, a lot of us are in L's Cafe, so you know what that means. That means you are an apprentice of M. Rain. And you have set up your LLCs, and this is your first year doing so. You have Khonsu at your hand so that you can make sure that it is set up correctly. And you don't have to be in L's Cafe to have a business, okay? So let me just clarify that. You have these people that are knowledgeable. Reach out. You don't even have to have a business to know how you are operating in your personal life. If you are willing to shift, be willing to shift. You have Monique, Olivia Twyman. She's in the group. She has been in the tax industry for over 17 years. Y'all start using your own people. But don't go with them with no free mentality. We ain't doing that. Be willing to invest in yourself first. Now, Khonsu has this course coming up on the 1st. I'm going to be with him about that payment plan for those who are interested. Your spirit team just blessed and blessed because I just talked to him about a week ago. No payment plan was put in place whatsoever. It was coming straight up with the dough or you wasn't getting in.
Yeah,
okay?
That's real.
So all y'all have relationships with your money bay. Go ahead and create that space to enter in so that you can do that. Did you enjoy yourselves? Was it a wealth of knowledge? Are you in gratitude? Did Lovey and Khonsu do the damn thing, or did we do the damn thing tonight for PNation? Unmute yourselves.
Indeed. Yes. Yes. Much gratitude. Much gratitude.
Lovey, I'm doing the shimmy. You got to shimmy for this.
Yes, Lovey, you got to shimmy.
Yeah. Shimmy. Everybody that shimmy is there.
Y'all see I got my boss shirt on? Did y'all see my boss shirt?
Yes, you looking good, Lovey.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, now. It was very awesome. Very awesome. Very awesome.
Thank you so much.
I love it, y'all.
Thank you both so much.
Attention and being present. I'd like to
will be in touch.
in the class on the
I'm glad I missed this.
Yes, Khonsu, thank you so much. I will definitely reach out to you.
Thank you, Khonsu.
Thank you, lovely.
Everybody in the class first, because I'm there. I want to see everything November 1st. None excuses.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be looking for all these names. There's still 41 of us live on here. And even if you plan on working with him one-on-one, take the course any hoot.
Yeah.
Okay? And do not allow your mind to convince you you don't have it. Create it. with your money, bae.
The fact that you are an ether priest and a palero has me sold, man. It has me sold. I'm gonna hit you up, man.
Oh yeah, Lafayette. That's what's up.
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Let's get it.
Put that
You already know.
Hey, Kale, Baba.
And you know, I'm a child of Ogun, so I cleared away. I'm a child of Ogun.
I'm a child of Shango. Shango over here.
I'm a Batala priestess.
Give me your
Salami.
Is a Batala in here? Oh my goodness, a Batala.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
A Batala.
Y'all all.
My fede fun egun. My fede fun egun.
Oh man, I say Otto. That's what's up.
Yeah.
It's gonna be lit, y'all.
Natasha, ready.
Y'all are heating up my space, so I got to go. Making me
Yeah.
all these energies y'all calling in.
I know, right?
I love it, each and every one of y'all. See y'all.
Love you too.
Love you too. Love you.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Have a blessed evening, everybody.
Yes,
Bye.
sir.
Bye.
Blessings, everyone.